the Amazonian, special loyalty. Praise to our Savior who granted us the freedom. Allegiance to the hero who brought the lonely gather. Glory to glory, we rise and never to fall. Here in a nation, flowing with the holy. Glory, glory, glory to the Father for making you a nation, a joy forevermore. Amazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meet in our need, and your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation. Amazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meet in our need, and your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation.
Oh man, a place day. Welcome to everybody, and I am very grateful that you've shown up today to listen to me concerning a wide range of issues which we are going to talk about. If there are any limitations in the broadcast, please alert me. I want to greet our brave people in all the 13 states of Amazonia. I want to thank all of you for your sacrifices and for having accepted to put your lives on the line for the freedom of our country. The past 7 years has been extremely very difficult, and the past 63 years has been miserable as far as individual Amazonians and their lives, their pursuit of happiness is concerned. We've been choked by foreign power that has insisted we must remain their slaves. They have, in the past 63 years, used manipulations, they've revised history, they have intimidated people, they have distorted the truth, and when those have failed, they have resorted to violence. Cameroon's presence in Amazonia has been a misery economically, politically, socially, and in terms of the protection of human dignity, we have been reduced to rubbish. You either, a section of our population has been recruited and integrated into Cameroon to become elites and the middlemen and women who time and again continue the perpetuation of the manipulation and domination through different schemes. Those who've managed to escape have been the source of hope for millions of people. They have been able, through remittances, to provide some form of sustainability in life, in education, in economic development to millions of our citizens. Hope within Ambazonia under Cameroon is lost. And when you analyze the attitude of the occupier and the actors, what you see is arrogance. They prefer to invest billions in war machinery than to invest those billions in creating an environment of justice, peace, and opportunity. They've stuffed their bank accounts with millions of ill-gotten wealth, and they believe they are untouchable. When we rose up, they designed every qualification to describe us. They call us 2 cubes of sugar. They've been calling us terrorists. In a form of denigration, they've called us amber, which is synonymous to all sorts of evils. They have never told our people that the pain that they feel today, the handicap in progress, is not as a result of our resistance, but it is as a result of the occupation, its policies in the economic domain, political domain, and the social domain. The lack of roads as a basic opportunity for people to move goods and services, the lack of hospitals to treat diseases that hamper involvement in economic development, the lack of clean environment as a preventative form of any health disaster. Absolutely nothing works. Our country is sliding down a steep slope into the abyss, and we seem to be the only rescue team. And we have taken that responsibility with humility and pride. I want to send greetings to our soldiers, the men and women who have fought in the last 7 years with pride and honor. Thank you for your sacrifices. Ambazonia's history will have your story written on the first pages of the book of our life. I also thank our prisoners of war for their endurance, for being in jail in the name of 8 million Ambazonians. Let me remind you, our jailers, that there will be a switch in position one day. You will walk home as free men and women into a free homeland. And those who've kept you in situations of inhumanity, those who've subjected you to psychological and physical abuse, those who've deprived you of your family, will pay a heavy price. Today is International Day for Freedom of the Press. The press is important. It is always described as the fourth arm of government after the executive, legislative arm, and the judiciary arm. It is an instrument for the freedom of expression to hold other institutions accountable. And I want to thank the brave men and women of the press in Amazonia and across the globe who continue to speak right for the voiceless and who have risked their lives across different battlefields to make sure that the truth is never buried through the power of oppression. I also want to salute our people, the Amazonian people, for being an exceptional people. You have been attacked ferociously by some manipulated pressmen and women who have lacked the courage to speak the truth. I have read a very salacious article today. I should not dignify the name of the writer or the article, but I would like to say this. In the past 7 years, no journalist has been killed by Amazonian forces. Compare it to other wars. Compare the number of journalists and pressmen and women who have died in the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine or Israel and Palestine. On the other hand, journalists have been murdered by Cameroon. Papers have been censored. Journalists have been locked up, disappeared. But each time journalists want to write, they try to draw a moral equivalence between the actions of our forces and the barbarism of the occupying power. What we have required of journalists is to do balanced reporting. We are not asking you to speak for us, we can speak for ourselves. We are not asking you to represent the narrative of Amazonia. We can do it ourselves. We are asking you to be balanced. If you are talking about elections being called within the territory of Amazonia by Cameroon, you must, on the other hand, be able to say the Amazonian people have rejected these elections. Any attempt to propagate the narrative of the enemy, to perpetuate a narrative that distorts the reality, you will be speaking like Goebbels, who spoke for Hitler. You will be speaking like those who manned the Radio Mille Collines and propagated falsehood that resulted in the death of 1 million people within 100 days. As I wrote this afternoon, courage is not the absence of fear. It is the ability to overcome fear. And those who make their way into the history books are those who are able to speak the truth, irrespective of the consequences. We aren't asking you to be suicidal, but if you decide to be a pressman or a presswoman, you must speak of the situation in the way that both parties represent them. We are not, as described by Cameroon, the northwest or the southwest of Cameroon. We are who we have described ourselves, Amazonians. And that is very important. By referring to us the way we want to be referred to, is not a recognition of our identity. It is simply calling me by my name. You can't call me Mvondo because Bia simply says I am. You will call me Ayaba because I say I am. And this is important. In the past few weeks, we watched a video of the fun of Mankon dancing Bikusi in Yaoundé. We saw him reduce our tradition to bare bones, shaking hands with a fellow enabler in the capital of the country that has laid waste to our coastlines, murdered thousands of our people, surely a few kilometers from where thousands of our people lie in chains. He went to collect bribe to come and influence quarterheads to participate in an election ban in Amazonia for the purpose of legitimizing a system that has given us nothing but pain and misery. We are Amazonians, and the foundation of our political system is rooted in the nationalist manifestation of the various clans and tribes and culture. That is part of our identity, and we take pride in being members of the different clans and cultures, the customary practices that have become part of our lives through time and space. And we also take it seriously when those who are supposed to be the custodians of our culture become instruments of its demise. People without their culture is people without a foundation. The way we speak, the way we articulate ourselves, the food we eat, the languages we speak is part and parcel of our being, without which we are hollow. And it's a tragedy that those bestowed through hereditary powers to protect our way of life have become instruments used by barbarians to destroy the foundation of Amazonian society. We rose up to protect that foundation. And for anyone, including Angwafo, whose father was a gigantic humiliation and fraud, who decides to dance to the tune of Bikotsi and to the tune of the enemy, be rest assured that the Amazonian people will take action. I remind every quarterhead within the fundum of Mankon that you are answerable to the forces. The sole authority within every constituency in Amazonia are the Amazonian forces whose blood have been spilled in the defense of that tradition. And any quarterhead being an instrument of any fundum or chieftaincy, you're putting yourself in harm's way. I also wish to remind the French ambassador who made a trip, and the European Union representative who smuggled themselves in our land in the continuous perpetuation of a system of brutality that what you are doing is inconsistent with the very values upon which your countries have been built. All foreign ambassadors existing in Cameroon have the right to go into Amazonia. Once we are notified, you will get into our territory freely. As long as your activities within our territory is not inconsistent with the aspirations of the Amazonian people or in furtherance of a regime of brutality, deprivation, and death that has manufactured evil in the last 64 years, both on the Cameroonian and Amazonian people. We rose up in the 90s in pursuit of values and norms sometimes estranged to our own tradition. Our forebears went to war to make sure that those who violate territorial integrity of other countries like Adolf Hitler were stopped. That peoples in countries will have the right to select or elect their governments consistent with their laws, so that all peoples, including the Jews, should be protected. That is why wars, including World War I and World War II, were fought in our land when we had no stake in those wars. We sought through the sacrifices of our parents to protect territorial integrity, sovereignty, international law principles that are very important for international peace and security, democracy and the respect of human rights, values that are critical for human coexistence. And we find it unacceptable for foreign governments to continue to collaborate with Yaoundé, calling them partners. All governments across the globe have their individual rights to deal with Cameroon. But as far as dealing with Cameroon on issues concerning Amazonia are concerned, we require foreign governments to take that into account and to be sensitive to the plight of our people. In the past 7 years, close to 40,000 Amazonians have been murdered, more than 200 massacres, including the killing, burning of children. A regime of impunity has existed for more than 60 years without accountability. Massive loot that has impacted the lives of millions of Amazonians and Cameroonians. 60 years in its existence, Cameroon has been ruled by two tyrants who have received military support, financial support from international financial institutions, and they have directly and indirectly participated in furtherance of a regime of murder. It is time the international community takes stock of its activities in the last 60 years and asks themselves if they have lived up to their very own values and their own moral standard. My fellow Amazonians, the Amazonian position as far as the war is concerned on the specific issue of negotiated settlement has not changed. I am aware that emissaries from Cameroon are making their way across the globe. It's not entirely negative. Engagement is positive. This might be a shift in the belief in violence as a means of resolving conflict. But the Ambazonian position and the position under my leadership is very clear. This is a conflict born out of illegal territorial expansion by a state that since 1961 has demonstrated bad faith in the implementation of international norms and laws and practices. Cameroon can never be a trusted party. That is why Ambazonia has been very clear. Any negotiations must be facilitated by a neutral international stakeholder or stakeholders. We have models like those of Eritrea, those of South Sudan, and other self-determination conflicts which we have properly articulated. The agreement signed in Canada is still binding on the parties. And whenever Cameroon is ready, it is going to call Ottawa and make itself available on a negotiating table to discuss the resolution of the conflict based on the root cause, which is that of occupation. Any shortcut will not be accepted. Any deviation from this rule will not be accepted. Ambazonia has made it absolutely clear. This phase of our resistance will resolve this conflict once and for all. There will be no middle ground. There will be no shortcut. There will be no manipulation. There will be no option A, B, or C. It will be a resolution that will result in the total independence of Amazonia, sovereign and free, and to participate within the international community as every other free nation. I want to assure our people that our resistance in terms of self-defense, internationalization, and targeted diplomacy made Amazonia a contender. We have demonstrated to the international community our abilities, that we are a people who have existed and whose actions are grounded in international acceptable norms, and that we are good faith actors, as was demonstrated in Canada, and that we are a people who uphold values of tolerance and compromise, as has been demonstrated by our people and leadership. We have shown without any ambiguity that we are a harbinger for stability, prosperity, peace, and justice in the Gulf of Guinea. We have shown that we are credible international partners that the international community can trust as a people, a nation, and a state that will live by the rules governing all sovereign countries. And we have shown clearly that Cameroon is not one of such countries. That if there is a partner in that area, it is not Cameroon, it is not Yaoundé, it is Ambazonia, and it is Buea. My fellow people, our resistance on the ground is taking shape across the state of Momo. We are rebuilding capacity after the death of our Supreme General. I can report with confidence that we are on the ascendancy. If for 8 years, with all the armada, the resources, the spies, and the elites, they've neither broken our will or been able to defeat us, that means we are unconquerable. And I can assure the people of Momo that your best interest is served by the men and women who carry arms in the defense of our villages. Mortals as they may be, fallible they are the ones in the last 60 years who've given you a flag of your own, an anthem of your own. I ask all our citizens in the great state of Momo and across the territory to protect their children and don't heed to the call of individuals who ask you to betray them. You betray them, you betray yourself, you betray your soul, you betray your existence, you betray your country, and that is irredeemable. I want you to stand with our forces. They fight for you, they die for you. Stand with your children and stand with Ambazonia. That's the only hope you have. In Bui, the country emerging from darkness has launched Operation Sunshine. I want to remind them, Ambazonia is a country where the sun never sets. And these barbarians will not invent what is intrinsically tied to our existence. I want to thank all the generals of the great state of Bui for their resilience and sacrifice. You have shown that the Nsot people are not people you joke with. You have the largest forces in Ambazonia, and you've put them to good use. And my leadership will continue to support you, to stand with you, stand by you, speak for you, articulate your hopes and aspirations. And I ask you all to remember you're one people, one army, under one nation. You must fight together, defend together, and resolve every conflict through dialogue, through discussions, compromise, and tolerance. There is one enemy, and it's the barbarians from the east. In the biggest, mightiest, most populated city, Bamenda, I want to thank the bravest men, urban guerrilla fighters. We are growing stronger too. As we saw in Meme, it is clear, as I have said repeatedly, ghost towns are not simply days to keep you at home. There are days to remind you about the pain of those who sit in jail. It's the day to remind ourselves of our sacred obligation to the millions of people who have been displaced as refugees and IDPs. Ghost towns are days of collective commitment to a fight we must. Ghost towns are days we tell the butchers, the kidnappers of our people that your days in our land is over. Most importantly, it's a day you take control. It's a day you keep even the enemy at home and respect it with pride. And I remind Donga and Fako to be in line with every other state in Amazonia to make sure the day of collective resistance is respected. I thank our forces across the Atlantic states, in Dian, in Kope, in Manyu, in Fako, in Meme, for their resilience. I hear people always say the fight is going down in the Atlantic. It's not. That's how all struggles are. There are times they peak in one area. There are times they go down. But across the Atlantic states, Amazonian forces in all the 6 states continue to fight. The enemy struggle in vain. My fellow people, on the 1st of January, 1960, Cameroon gained independence. On the 11th of February, 1961, the United Nations organized a plebiscite within the territory of Amazonia, asking us to vote to integrate into Nigeria or to federate with Cameroon. On the 1st of October, 1961, Amazonia gained its independence and was immediately occupied by the Republic of Cameroon. These are symbolic, historically valid dates that we must always remind ourselves of. Cameroon, on the 20th of May 1972, abrogated La Constitution Federale it had imposed on Amazonia and declared a unitary state, and since then has celebrated this day of abrogation of illegality, negating its own day of independence, murdering and kidnapping our people when they attempt to celebrate our own day of independence. The 20th of May is a day of organized oblivion, of insignificance. In the past weeks and in the past years, the celebration of this day has been outlawed in Amazonia. And every 20th of May, we've declared it a day of resistance, a day of shame, a day we should all stay at home or fight the enemy in any way, shape, or form. And this year will not be different. In the past few weeks, I have had consultations with our forces and other stakeholders, and we've all agreed that because the 20th of May falls on Monday, which is Country Sunday, a natural lockdown in Amazonia, the 19th of May will be a lockdown within Amazonia also. So the 19th and the 20th of May are days of national resistance within the entire territory of Amazonia. All those who cannot carry out meaningful resistance action must stay at home in honor of the sacrifices of those who will be wielding bayonets and rifles outside, and in remembrance of the resistance of those who are in jail. We ask all Amazonians across all the jails to observe a lockdown in those jails, and Amazonians in the diaspora to organize days of resistance in any form or shape in honor of the sacrifices of our people. I call on our population to heed this call. I remind all those who move in and out of Amazonia, be reminded our borders will be shut down, will be closed. We will not tolerate violations of this day. Sacrosanct, it's in honor of those who have died, families who still mourn their loved ones, those who have not seen their children and husbands and wives locked up in jails, sons who've left mechanic shops, lecture halls, engineering jobs to carry rifles and have stayed in the bushes for the past 7 years, and those who are in perpetual exile simply because they are Amazonians. My fellow citizens, we rose so that we should be free, and we have risen to fall no more. God bless you all.
Glory, we the Amazonian, special loyalty, presence to our Savior who granted us the freedom, allegiance to the hero who God alone we gather. Glory to glory, we rise and never to fall. Here in a nation, flowing with and holy, glory. Glory, glory to the Father for making you a nation, a joy forevermore. Amazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need, and your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation. Amazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need, and your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation.
Welcome to ACN.